Hi, baby.
Oh, welcome to Heavy Petting with Cheri Hardman. Today's guest is Deece Casillas. Hello, Deece.
Hey, and Molly.
Hi. Introduce me to your friend there.
This is Molly. She's a pit bull. She's about, let's see, she's 5.5 years old. I've had her since she was 5.
Mhm.
I didn't rescue her. She rescued me. Got her from, she was a free dog. I got her from the shelter here in Spokane. Yeah. Oh, Molly, there she goes. I can get her back if you need her back.
Did you know anything about her history when you got her?
I didn't. I only exclusively adopt pit bulls. I've had a bunch over the years. I love them. I think they're great dogs. And they're the dog most likely to be exploited or abused. So I figure if I can give at least one a good home, I will.
Right.
And she's been a great dog. She's a little, she's big and she's loud and she's rambunctious. She was definitely hyper when I got her. She still has energy. She's calmed down some, but no, she'd had one owner, and I got her when she was like 8 months old, and had her ever since. Yeah, she's my big old bitch. I love her though.
What was she like when you tell me about that first day when you first walked in with her to your house?
Well, so she's very high strung, or she was, especially back then, very hyper and high strung. And I think she was just had a lot of anxiety from probably being left alone, and not really giving a lot of attention. So she didn't like being in the shelter. So she when dogs are nervous, they chew their tails, like the end of their tails. And she would had a sore on the end of her tail that she chewed, and she would run around my house with her tail wagging and just her tail just throwing blood all over my house. And it looked like a scene from The Shining, because like my walls are just like covered in blood. And she's just running around having, just playing, trying to figure out life. And then I got her, I made a bed for her on the floor. And the girl I was seeing at the time was like, no, she's going to sleep in the bed with us. So I'm like, okay. I go, but you realize that if we let her up in the bed tonight, she's sleeping in the bed every single night now. Like there's no breaking that. And right. I'm fine with that, because I like sleeping with my dog. But I go, that you're the one that has to now share the bed, your side of the bed with a 90-pound pit bull. And she got up on the bed, and we had just bought a new comforter, and literally while we were sleeping, she chewed a giant hole in it and pulled all the stuffing out of like this $120 comforter, which I thought it was really funny, because the girl I was seeing at the time, I didn't want to buy the comforter, because I go to like Big Lots and I buy a $30 king bedding set, and I'll just buy another one in a year. Like I don't, and I don't like down comforters. I like them cheap, and like, because I grew up poor. I just like cheap Dacron filled. And I learned from my last dog who slept in my bed, like they're hard on them, so it's easier just buy cheap ones and replace them. So when literally the first day she chews a hole in this thing, I just laughed so hard. My girlfriend was so mad, and I'm like, there's probably one of the many reasons we didn't work out.
Right. Well, plus it's like all our blankets here have holes in them because of the dogs. But I was thinking about the tail, like how do you bandage up a dog's tail? You can't put a Band-Aid on it, can you?
Yeah, it took me a lot. Like I kept having to, eventually I like used athletic tape and like put a small bandage on, and then like literally had to wrap all the way down her tail to make it stick. So she just looked like an idiot. But I mean, I just had to keep at it. It took a long time for it to heal, because she was just really still nervous and high strung, and like took her a while to get kind of used to, you could tell she'd never had any like real discipline or training, but also she was super smart. Like from the beginning, when I went to feed her, like the first time I fed her, she sat down and she just looked at me, and like she wouldn't eat the food until I would tell her, go ahead. And she still won't. She still to this day, like I pour food in her bowl and she just sits there and looks at me and until I go, it's okay, go ahead. Then she'll eat. So she listens very well. I mean, I can leave the gates open in my yard and she won't leave the yard. I mean, she knows who butters her bread.
Mm-hmm,
she's like, I got it good here. I don't know what's going on out there, but it can't be better than what I got going on here. So
does she do any tricks?
She can scare away any crackhead. She sits, shakes, she lays down. Those are the basic ones. She's kind of big and has kind of bad hips, so that's about as far as she goes. Like stuff is kind of doesn't do that really. But no, I mean she listens really really well, and I like it because I actually live in like a really nice neighborhood, surprisingly, and my whole neighborhood is all like older people with money and who are like on Social Security or retired, and they have to hate me because they probably think I run a trap house, right? Because there's like this this young Latino kid with a pit bull like who just lives in their neighborhood alone, and like I come and go at all weird hours because of comedy I do. And like 7 people have keys to my house because of recording, and also like people who just like do stuff at my house. So like I'll be gone for weeks and like other people just come and go. Then there's this giant pit bull running around outside. They're like, what the hell is happening in this? This is
sketchy.
Yeah, this was a nice white neighborhood until this kid moved to town. What the hell is happening? So
all right. Well, if she were to write a review of you as an owner, what would she say?
I think she would say she would say that the first few years I wasn't around enough. I was kind of an absentee father at times. The last 6 months, we get a lot of togetherness time, which makes her happy. She would probably complain that I don't let her outside enough, despite the fact that I let her outside all the time. But like, it'll be freezing outside in the winter. You know, I live in Spokane, Washington. It gets cold, below zero sometimes. And she will, I mean, she's a short-haired dog. I'll let her outside for a little while. And I'm like, dog, you got to be freezing. Get back inside. And then instantly she's just laying at the back door again, trying to get back outside. I'm like, you're going to die. I'm like, you got a chip in you, bitch. They know I have you. Like, if you go off the grid, like, they're coming after me, you know? Like, so, but overall, I think she'd be very happy. I mean, listen, I make jokes about it all the time. Like, people call me a workaholic, and they're like, when is enough Deece? Like, you're always working. Like, when is enough? I'm like, enough is enough when I can afford to live the life my dog is living. Cause like that, like I'm in a fucking Motel 6 in fucking Butte, Montana, you know, and my dog is on a $3,000 memory foam mattress in an air conditioned house, you know, like fucking, you know, shit, like who's living their best life right now? It's not me. So.
Oh, that's good. So good. All right. So now let's switch a little bit and start talking about heavy petting of the human variety.
All right.
I always like to qualify heavy petting. That realm could include anything from dating to love to sex, anything like that. Do you have any like interesting or amusing anecdotes or stories to tell us about heavy petting experiences?
Oh God, I've got so many. Where trying to think of which one would be the best one to tell you. How explicit are we allowed to get on this show, Cheri?
I'm doing it on say whatever you want. Then I haven't gotten dinged yet, but it will be on Facebook. So
okay. So this is maybe how this doesn't really necessarily though. So I went on. This is just kind of a funny story. Like I went out on a date with this girl, And she goes, uh, she, the first thing she says when I meet her, she's like, okay, hey, she goes, before this goes any further, I've just got to tell you, I have got, this is a blind date, mind you, which people don't ever stop. Don't do it. It's like, it's not, it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, before this goes any further, I just got to tell you, I've got some pretty weird hobbies. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, you should see what's noodling around up here in Deep World, lady. I'm like, I got some pretty weird hobbies too. I hate to, I don't want to burst your bubble, but you're not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ladies first. I'm like, go ahead. What do you got? And she goes, well, sometimes, and keep in mind, I just met this woman. She goes, well,
Right.
sometimes I like to go to underground dungeon sex parties. And I'm like, all right, we'll take it easy. Slow it down on the opening volley, Serena. Jesus, like, you know, like that's what you lead
That's what
with.
you open with, yeah.
You open with dungeon sex parties, and like, I'm not the square. I'm with it. Like, I can get down, but also, like, you know, maybe, like, you know, on Sundays I play pickleball or something like that. Like, slow it down. And, you know, and then she's like, well, what about you? And I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. I'm like, I don't know. Like, on my lunch breaks, I play skee ball. I don't know. Like, we're not the same. And then she's like, well, next question. I'm like, all right. Well, first thing you said was a statement, not a question, but let's just proceed like this is going fine. And I go, and she goes, this is what an adult asked me right after they said they went to dungeon sex parties. She goes, if you could have one weapon in a zombie apocalypse, what would it be? And I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what have I done in my life to deserve this? And the first thing I said is, I'm a smart ass me, like, my brain just go easy, go time machine. You know. And she's like, what? And I go, yeah, think about it. I'm like, that's the only appropriate answer to that question. And I'm like, first of all, I go back in time and save myself from ever going on this horrific date in the first place. Like, second of all, that solves every problem I've ever had in life, right? You know. Then after that, I'm like just trying to talk to her, right? I'm like trying to get anything from this woman. And she, I finally ask her, I'm like, all right, like we have nothing to talk about, nothing in common. And I finally ask her, I'm like, hey, I'm like, so what's your favorite movie? You know, she's like, you know, she's like, oh, I love movies. I'm like, great. I love movies too. That's awesome. Let's talk about movies. That's what we have something in common. Like, what's your favorite movie? And she thinks about it and she goes, and she goes, Freddy versus Jason. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no. And I gave her an out. I'm like, okay, I get it. Listen, I'm not saying it's not a fun movie. Like, we can, like, I can delineate when a movie is bad but still fun. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're like that's a terrible movie, but it has some value because it's like so bad it's entertaining.
Right.
But like, don't tell me that's your favorite piece of cinema. Like, you know, did you boil it down to like Gone with the Wind and Freddy versus Jason? Were those the two in contention? And so I'm like, no, really, like, what's your favorite like cinema, like real movie? You know, like Citizen Kane or, you know, whatever trite answer you want to give me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, she said, oh, okay. Then she thinks about her phone. She's like, yeah, I think I'm sticking with Freddy versus Jason. And I'm like, oh, like, I gotta go. So I snuck away to go to the bathroom, and I was just gonna leave.
Uh-huh.
And then I got outside, and I like was leaving, and then she like caught me leaving, and I'm like, oh shit. And then she's like, then she wanted to like bang in the parking lot. So
When she
I'm like,
catches you ghosting her, she still wants to do it.
yeah, she still wants to do it. And I'm like, and because I have no scruples, I did, obviously. And then it led to a long time booty call, which was very great. Yeah, she was definitely into dungeon sex parties. She showed up in my house dressed as a nun one time and wanted to use ranch dressing as a sexual aid. And I'm like, lady, This is not a ranch dressing body. This is vinaigrettes only, okay? Take it easy.
Yeah, well, they say the crazy ones are always good in bed. I hear that. She's wild, sounding wild.
They absolutely are. They 100% are the best in bed. I feel like there should be a middle ground, though. Can't we have someone that's like a 6 in bed and a 6 in the head and a 6, it's like I don't need, because listen, I don't need to bang a 10. I just also want to be able to actually close my eyes and not feel like they're going to light me on fire while I'm sleeping because, they think I'm dreaming of someone else. Like, I know you're dreaming of a different person. What are you talking about? Yeah, there's a reason I'm my age and single and no kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good story. Like I can picture her. What did she look like? See if I'm right.
Molly thought she was
dark hair.
Dark. It was shorter hair though. Shorter, which is usually a tell, not to like stereotype women, but generally if women go to like really short hair, they usually have they have a personality, like a specific personality,
They got an edge to them.
Yeah. And, I like that. No, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
Especially when I drank more, I was like, I'm into this. This is going to be fun for a night. Yeah, she's a little taller, like I'm 6'1". She was probably like 5'8", not that tall, 5'7". She was very hot. She was real hot. She was very, thin, but a little, she was good. Everything was good. I was very, there's a reason it was an ongoing booty call for some time.
I got it.
That. Yeah,
All right. So this is a question that I ask everybody on this show. What is the best compliment you've ever received about your naked body?
Oh, so I actually had a woman tell me that I had really nice balls one time, and I didn't know how to deal. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to respond to that because, the testicles are a part of your male genitalia, but they don't really do. They don't do much, they're like spinning rims, they're like, they're a part of it, but also they don't really do a lot. They're just kind of there moving around, there's not a lot of feeling in them. They're not big. They're not a big portion. I mean, yeah, they're they're holding the finishing move.
Right.
I was a poet before I did comedy. Yeah. But like, they're, I'm like, okay. I'm like, why are you even like gross? Like, I don't even like my balls. Like, why are you looking? She like wanted to like touch them and like hold them and just like hold them. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, I don't know. I'm also bad at being complimented because I had horrible parents. So like, I don't take compliments well. I would rather someone tell me to fuck off and die than ever give me a compliment, because that makes me, I know how to handle someone not liking me. Mm-hmm. Someone telling me I'm doing something good is like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know how to deal with that. But yeah, I mean, how do you
as a woman, I don't know. I never heard of nice balls before. Like, I didn't know that thing.
Well, and then she's like, she's like, did you know you have nice balls? I'm like, what am I comparing them to? Like, I don't know how what you think guys do on the weekends. But like it's not a lot of comparing our testicles. Like, is it smoothness, roundness? Like, what do I, where the hair, the color of it, like how coarse it is, what am I comparing it to? And because to me, like, guys' bodies, like women's bodies are beautiful. Like they're round, they're soft, they've got soft edges, they're curved in the right places. You know what I'm saying? But like a man's body is like a Swiss Army knife. It's like, it's meant for utility only. It's got like a purpose, but it's utilitarian. It's not nice to look at. Like, I mean, even a dick is like, it's like weird and veiny and like kind of in your face. And you're like, I don't know. I mean, listen, women and gays are way better than I am, because I'd be like, oh God, dick. I don't even want to touch me when I pee. It's so weird. Like, I don't know.
Ah, all right. Well, that's interesting. I'll be looking for a picture of your balls in my inbox later.
Yeah.
And
you bet.
Can you tell people how they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me. You can go to deececomedy.com, or it's Deece Comedy or Deece.comedy on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Yeah, go to deececomedy.com and that'll give you all the links too. So.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, the weather's changing out here. It's pouring down rain. So I don't know if you guys have that yet, but it's.
Oh God, I hope so.
It's
Not
coming.
Yet.
So.
I hope so. Yeah, get rid of the smoke.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I will see you around.
Yeah, thanks, Cheri. Appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Get out of here. So my husband is a great guy, but he does have a habit of scratching himself a lot. Like if he got murdered and they were scraping under his fingernails for evidence, they would say his balls definitely did it. And I'm sorry, but balls are ridiculous. I told him that. He accused me of ball shaming him. I said, why don't you have the common decency to be ashamed of those things on your own? Now, it's right about here that the men start getting quiet. I understand, guys. Really, I do. Because like my vagina's like an eclipse. You know, it causes a lot of excitement when it comes around me. You don't want to look directly at it. And nobody ever on the third date has said, it's the third date, can't wait to find out what his balls look like. It doesn't happen. They're just wrinkled, bloated sacks, just hanging around moping, waiting for someone to pet them like a pair of neglected basset hounds. At least a penis can stand up and be proud, right? But the balls are just like two homely trolls hanging out with their hot friend, thinking maybe they're going to get some action because they just happen to be in the right place. It's like the penis is James Franco. The balls are Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill.
What's on her mind? She's a big, big girl in a skinny woman's world. Now she's a big, big girl in a skinny woman's world. Now she's a big, big girl.